Hello, Soul Fam. This is Rena Yassiri with InsideJobHealing.com. Feeling pretty relaxed after yoga, so I thought I'd jump on with this week's weekly forecast. Well, we had an explosive week last week, especially Thursday. A lot of us lost our cool because we were trying to free ourselves from a pattern for the last 10 or 20 years. More specifically, if you've been struggling with something where you felt bullied or you felt angry or frustrated about a pattern that you've been stuck with, especially since 2008, and no one has infamously showed this better than Britney Spears for the Collective, because she has been under a conservatorship, taking her rights away even to her body and making medical decisions since 2008. Well, why is 2008 such a significant time? Well, that's when Saturn entered Aquarius, and Saturn is the sign of restriction, limitation, the old guard government, just kind of status quo, that kind of oppressive rule in the past. And so it's interesting how when Saturn came into the humanitarian sign, the innovative sign, the community sign of Aquarius, that's when she started experiencing these issues in 2008, and she's still dealing with them. And I believe Saturn's going to be in Aquarius until 2025. So she's not the only one, myself included. There are some of us that have been stuck in contracts or situations or old patterns since 2008 that we are struggling to break free of. And what's really interesting is that we have the new moon in Cancer, the nurturing sign of Cancer, on Friday, July 9th. And this particular new moon in Cancer is really, really asking us to break free of the bondage. And you might ask yourself, why have you been stuck since 2008 or for 10 or 20 years with these patterns? It's because as humans, we've been conditioned, we've been programmed to be nice, to people please, to feel guilty, to not go to court and fight for our rights, to not speak our truth, to not stand up for ourselves. And unfortunately, women are taught, especially women, are taught to put everyone else before themselves and put themselves last. Well, a lot of us that are going through the Ascension Awakening process are being challenged on that point. We're being challenged to drop the codependency and people pleasing. We're being challenged to drop the very low vibration, which is under 100 on the consciousness scale. You can look this up in the Power versus Force book. There is a consciousness scale. We're being asked to drop that guilt. So, if you need to prosecute someone, or if you need to stand up for your rights and fight a contract that you've been embroiled with years and you don't want to give your consent anymore, or to Brittany's point, she doesn't want her dad to be the conservator anymore. So this is the time to break free, right? Because you have the nurturing, very mother, very healing like Cancer, asking you to break free and to nurture yourself and put yourself first. So we're being asked to delete, cancel and clear, delete these programs that have taught us that you're a bad person, you're selfish if you say no to others and yes to yourself, right? So how many of us have heard that? How many of us have been told to be the good girl, right? Or the good guy, right? And not say no to our parents, or, give our power away and do what our parents told us, or go to the universities to our parents want us to, or do the things that other people want us to do. We're constantly giving our power away. Well, if you're someone on the ascension path like myself, that is what I teach my clients, is to be empowered. But it's not as easy as it sounds, because to truly step into your power, it means you have to say no sometimes to your parents or family or loved ones, and have to face their rejection and disapproval in order to say yes to yourself. You have to drop the act of people pleasing and putting everyone else ahead of yourself, because if you're constantly putting yourself last, that's what happens, is you get stuck in these contracts and these patterns for 10, 20 years, because you're not standing up for yourself. You're not being in alignment. You're not being authentic because you're not speaking your truth, right? Or you're settling. How many women have this list of things that they want from a guy, but they're like, oh, that's okay if he smokes. Oh, that's okay if he smokes weed. Or that's okay if he's not educated. That's okay if he got the vax. At one point, are you going to stop settling and actually give a signal to the universe that you truly deserve and are open to all the things that you desire, and you completely are are worthy of them. So that's another thing. A lot of things that I work with my clients is issues about self-worth. So many beautiful women inside and out are settling, or they're allowing guys to date multiple women even though what they really want is a long-term relationship. Now, if you want to have hookups and sleep around, that's one thing. But if you want a long-term relationship and you're allowing a guy to tell you, well, I'm too scared to introduce you to my family or my daughters, or I'm not sure, then you're not knowing your worth, right? Because if that person is really, truly sure about you, they would have asked you by now, if you want to be their girlfriend, right? Especially if there's intimacy involved. So we have to, as a collective, stop settling, stop giving our power away, stop people pleasing, stop making decisions out of guilt or obligation, stop allowing other people to shame us and say that you're selfish, right? Because ultimately they're self-serving. You're selfish because you're not meeting their expectations. You're selfish because you're not driving 2 hours to meet them. You're selfish because you're not picking them up at the airport because you have other things to do or you're tired. So you have to get to a point where you develop thick skin, where you're able to shed some light on people's unconsciousness, and you're able to deprogram. You're able to stand up for yourself and show your family where they have shadows or darkness or unconsciousness, or where they're being fear-based. Because honestly, people who love you are going to support your decisions. They're going to understand, even though it might come off as harsh initially because you're not following the programming, you're not people pleasing. But ultimately, if you keep people pleasing and if you keep making decisions out of guilt or obligation, you're gonna be so resentful, and you're not gonna be living your best life, and you're gonna be unhappy, and you're gonna feel stuck. You're gonna feel like your hands are tied and you're drowning. And you do not want to do that, right? So regardless of the outcome of what happened with Britney or the conservatorship, I hope they really do take it further and not allow people to get paid off to keep her in this imprisoned state so others like her family can benefit from her $60 million estate. But ultimately, the point is that she stood up for herself. She spoke her truth. And that is what I'm asking you guys to do in any situation in your life. No one's life is perfect. There's always an area where we feel like we're trapped, or we need more freedom, or we feel like we're disempowered, or we're doing things for other people. So whatever that area in your life is, whether it's, your home or your real estate or money, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your work, whether it's your career, it doesn't really matter. But wherever you feel stuck, wherever you feel like you need to break free, wherever you feel like you're not being truthful for yourself, wherever you feel like you're settling for less, because remember, you deserve the best. This new moon is really going to usher in this powerful energy for you to break through and nurture yourself and put yourself first. So remember, say yes to yourself, right? Because if you don't put yourself first, no one else will. Right? So that's kind of my main message today, is with this new moon. It's going to be marking the end of the eclipse season. We also have the third pass coming in with Neptune and Mercury. Honestly, as somebody who's ruled by Mercury myself, and those of you that are Virgos or Geminis, sun, moon, or rising, I'm sure you've noticed that there's been a lot of misinformation in the media, on dating apps, even in Facebook Marketplace. There's just been a lot of deception and misinformation and confusion and murkiness and lack of clarity. Well, I'm happy to say, once we get through this, this square with Mercury and Neptune, Neptune is spirituality, intuition. It also rules addiction, things like that. So we've just had all this misinformation, and also, causes deception, especially when, Neptune's in its home sign of Pisces. So that's been amplified. And Mercury we just got out of a Mercury retrograde June 22nd. So we're not completely full throttle ahead, but we haven't been in that Mercury energy where we can think clearly, where we can write, where we can speak, where we have a lot of clarity, where we're able to communicate, where things seem on the up and up. That's going to change after this upcoming week, because we're no longer having that square with Neptune and Mercury. So I'm really, really happy about that. So for those of us that want to write contracts, or if we want to take exams, right? Or if we want to do things that, travel, short-term travel, things like that, anything that has to do with Mercury, right? Technology, all those things are going to improve after next week. And we will have put the eclipse season behind us for now. And like I said, you're going to have a new moon, which is a total reset for the collective anyway, right? It's these very exciting, birth energies, right? Rebirth and reset and stuff like that. So please take advantage of them. Hope you had a nice holiday weekend. I just do want to mention again that the explosive energies are not completely gone, especially I talked about this last week, that Venus is going to be in opposition to the new moon, right? And so is Uranus. So basically there's going to be surprises with money, unexpected things with money and love, so finances and relationships. So just be on the lookout for that. It's not like super smooth sailing, but certainly the turbulent energies are getting less and less. But this is your opportunity, guys. This ascension path is not easy. You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. I believe in you. You have to feel it to heal it. And you need to integrate. And this is the other thing I wanted to mention. You have to get to this point where you don't have resistance in what's happening. Like a lot of us were like, well, we don't really like what's going on right now, right? Even though we've taken the masks off and unfortunately a lot of people have been vaxxed. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're going to have to be okay with what is, right? So you have to get to this point of acceptance. It's a much higher vibration because resistance is the biggest enemy, right? And the ego tends to resist things it doesn't like, or if it doesn't get its way, or if it can't control things, because the ego is fear-based. So I really invite you to cultivate this energy of not only acceptance, but also if you're somebody who's in a waiting game because you're so far ahead in your ascension path, you're just waiting for everybody to catch up, to be patient and to be grateful where you're at and to be grateful for the good things. But most importantly, you need to accept what's in your life right now, right? Because if you add any resistance, it's going to slow down that future timeline that you really want and that kind of, upgraded paradigm that you want to, invite in, because it's like, oh, I don't like this, or I'm attached to this, or whatever. So I really want you to, I invite you this week to really accept what is. So whether you're living by an ocean or a mountain, accept yourself in either situation. Whether you're living in an apartment but you really want to live in a house, okay, you've lived in a house before, accept your lifestyle if an apartment dweller or you own your own house. If you rent or you own. If you're single, accept that. If you're recently single, versus if you are in a relationship, right? You've been in situations in your life where you've been in a relationship or you've been single, especially what's going on with the dating apps right now with all the uncertainty, confusion, and misinformation. Just kind of, be mindful of all that and be discerning about who you're talking to. So what I'd like you to do is, like I said, you need to accept where you're at. You need to come to terms with, all of the multidimensionality that you've experienced in your life, right? If you are, just anything that you want to resist, right? Whether you've been a business owner or you've worked for someone else, you don't want to, have polarity. You want to accept either situation, meaning, like Abraham Hicks says, I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm eager for more, right? So wherever you're at, whether it's ocean or mountain, whether it's a house or an apartment, whether you're single or married or in a relationship, just accept it all. Just accept the different phases. When you integrate all that and you have no resistance, then you truly become a master, right? You become a creator of your own reality because you're saying everything's okay. Everything, no matter what experience I'm having, I'm embracing it. I have no resistance to it. The outside world is exactly indicative and a reflection of my inner world. I am a mirror. I am a spiritual teacher to others. I shed light. I present unconditional love. I hold space. I love myself. I put myself first. I serve others only when it's not a detriment to myself. I don't do things out of guilt or obligation. And though I speak my truth, I am not worried about not being accepted by my family. I don't have to people please, and all those things. I stand up for myself, regardless of how hard or how much courage it takes. So guys, this is what it's going to take for us to evolve to the next level. I love you so much. Rena with InsideJobHealing.com. Please share, like, comment, spread the word, add it to your stories, and share with anyone that you feel needs to hear this message. I am always here. I am always supporting you. And as always, if you have any questions, hit me up. And if you're interested in any of my programs, schedule some free time to talk. All right. Love you.